returned. Wrestling with Egos. Acknowledge me. Welcome to Wrestling with Egos. Sans Isaac, who is traveling right now, and Sans KD temporarily. He'll be on in a bit. He literally texts us, start the show, carry on without me, I'll be in soon. There you go. So the funniest guy in the room will be joining us. The coolest guy in the room is traveling. The loudest guy in the room is here, along with the smartest guy in the room, my best friend Brian. What's going on, buddy?
Nothing much. Kind of an eventful week, and we're going to talk a little current events, but we're going to segue into a discussion of the classics, if you don't mind, because it's interesting, but it's not that interesting.
One thing that I, myself, Patrick, and my dear best friend truly love is a good classics discussion. We love kicking it a little old school around here on Wrestling with Egos. And what is new can also be old again, or what is old can be new again, however you want to phrase it. Because in current events this week, on Monday night, WWE along with Triple H in a promo unveiled the new WWE World Heavyweight Championship belt. Because we're in the process of the soon to be the WWE draft, and whichever show Roman is not drafted to, the other show will have this brand new belt. First, looks cool. Then again, you should expect to hear that from me because it looks oddly familiar to the big gold belt. Not really surprised, being the fact that creative is now being run by Triple H, who is about as old school as it gets in terms of how things should look. I definitely don't have a problem with how the belt looks. I like it. I wish there was a little more color to it, but at least it's not the WWE or Universal Championships or the Women's Championships.
More on that in a moment.
Look the flipping same. Yeah. Foreshadowing alert. Before we get to the whys and the hows and everything else and how we feel about a new championship, Brian, aesthetically, what do you think about the new belt? Because personally, I dig it. I give it an 8. I mean, it's not like, oh my God, that's awesome, but it also don't suck either.
Here's my problem with any of these new belt designs that invariably we're going to talk about here shortly. The belts themselves would be fine if they did not have a logo on them that just doesn't translate well to brass or to metal or whatever material the belt's made out of. Because I think WWE's logo is cool. The two thin W's and all that and the red line underneath it. It looks cool when it comes on in the signature at the beginning of programming. And it looks cool when it's the little bug in the corner of your screen when you're watching on the network or you're watching Raw or SmackDown or whatever, or a live event. But there's something about it that just doesn't translate well to other materials. And I feel like that's been the problem with all these belt designs, because even this new design, yeah, it looks cool, but we were in the basement before as far as belt designs recently.
First off, you and I do not agree on one massive thing that you just said. So, my opinion, no, the WWE logo does not look cool. It looks about as bargain basement romper room design as it gets. I mean, the old school WWF logo, that block double,
Yes.
like from the 80s, that was cool.
And the
then
blue and yellow.
Yeah, the blue and yellow, and then they made it jagged for the Attitude Era, and then they cut off the forks of the F when they became WWE, and now they've just straightened it. And it's literally just two thin W's lying through it. It's sanitized. And personally, as someone who designs, not like I'm no Jedi, but I mean, I can hold my own.
You've done some things.
I've done some things. It's too sanitized. There's a difference, boys and girls, in something being sanitized versus being clean. And this is too sanitized.
Yeah. I feel like before we go any further, though, we should thank all the good people in Wrestling with Egos Land for joining us, however it is that you're joining us. Whether it's on Spotify, Google, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, or right here on YouTube, we appreciate you joining us the way you do. Please leave us a 5-star review if you feel so inclined. Click the bell for notifications to like and subscribe and share. Get the word out there. For discussions like this, where we talk about things that are going on, but we link them to things that have already happened, and we get the discussion going. I did not know that you felt that way about the WWE logo.
Ever since they straightened it, and it's literally just that, I'm like, that is the most sanitized thing I've ever seen.
What I will say about this design, though, in the plus column, it's not gaudy by any stretch of the imagination, like all of the other championships have been. Like I look at all these other belts, and I think the gaudy is the first adjective that pops into my head.
Oh, don't get me started. Well, go ahead and get me started. That way, I'm ramped up later.
With the exception of the Intercontinental Championship, I like the current Intercontinental Championship. That's the only one.
We'll get to that later.
Okay.
File that one under Don't Get Me Started, but a different reason than every other belt WWE has.
Okay.
I dislike the Intercontinental Championship for a different reason.
Okay.
Than every other championship. And the word you used, gaudy. Ding.
Because it just seems like the design strategy was, let's put this big W right in everybody's faces so there's no mistaking what product you're watching with the guy or gal is carrying it around. Right. And that's not the way to design a belt. I'm sorry.
No. So I want to shift the focus a little bit off the belt and to the championship. And I have a massive problem with this. I have a massive problem with the way they've done it and the way they've unveiled it. And here is my problem. You pretty much have just told everybody, well, since nobody can beat Roman, we're going to make a new title. So what you're doing is you are literally castrating your entire roster because no one can beat Roman. So we're going to make a participation trophy.
It does smack of that. You're right.
I freaking hate that. There's a lot of things about wrestling that I freaking hate right now, which is one of the 1,004 reasons that I haven't been on the show, and a lot of them have to do with wrestling. I'm not engaged. I'm not satisfied. Wrestling isn't fun right now. I mean, I'm on the show tonight because we're talking about something fun, and also I miss my guys. That's it.
Here's a follow-up question to that for you.
Okay. Wait, the fact that I hate wrestling right now, or the castration of the roster?
The castration of the roster.
Okay.
Do you think this is happening because they don't have an end game in mind for Roman, or do you think this is happening because the rest of the talent is getting pissed that Roman still has the belt for 1,000, or will eventually have the belt for 1,000+ days.
C, none of the above.
None of the, okay.
USA Network wants their own damn title. This is a network thing.
And I just can't wrap my head around that kind of a marketing strategy.
So
I mean,
I think it's a multi-layered thing. I don't think it's just the network. I think what's happening here, one, network thing, because Roman has this limited schedule and he's not going to work Raw and SmackDown.
right.
So, one, WWE has painted themselves into a corner by not pulling the trigger on Cody at WrestleMania, which, by the way, I think, since I haven't been on since before WrestleMania, horrible decision. Because you had the opportunity to write that storybook Hollywood ending, and you didn't. And now the only way it makes sense for Cody to win, for Cody to beat Roman, is next year at WrestleMania in Philadelphia, where they do not cheer baby faces. They
Right.
boo them. So what they've done, and I think that's another layer to World Heavyweight title. They're castrating their roster by, essentially making Roman the gold standard. Like, oh wait, can't beat Roman, so here's another time. It's a lot like, and this one was storyline, whereas what's happening now is real. When Lesnar was the undisputed champion and signed that exclusive deal with SmackDown, and that Eric Bischoff handed Triple H the World Heavyweight title. That's what this
Yeah.
is. Except this is real and not part of the show. The worst thing that can happen, and I'm starting to disconnect from wrestling. And if this scenario happens, click, your winner and new WWE World Heavyweight Champion, Cody Rhodes.
That was going to be my next question for you. Do
Yep.
you think if it's anybody else but Cody, because I bet we can all think of some names of people where if they won it, okay, that makes some sense.
Exactly. I can give you 5 names that would be great to win that. And Cody Rhodes is not one of them. Because if you give it to Cody, Cody's not good enough to beat Roman, but we're going to put a title on him. So what you've just done is you not only, and I just realized I totally forgot to text my mom. Yeah.
You better take care of that.
Well, yeah. I told her I was going to Jen's tonight, and I forgot to text her, let her know I was here. Oops. I always forget that. Sorry, Mom.
Now you've done it.
Damn it. I'm out of the will now. But
why are we even continuing then? Shut it down.
Yeah, shut it all down. We're done. Cody's not good enough to win. Cody's not good enough to beat Roman. So let's give him the participation trophy. So what you're doing, if you do that, you're not only castrating the rest of the roster, you are cutting Cody Rhodes off like he was the Black Knight in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. No arms, no legs, it's just a flesh wound.
I'm not dead yet.
What are you going to do? Beat on me?
Now, I don't think that's going to happen, though.
I'm afraid it is. That's the problem.
Because
here's
the
terrified.
thing. They're going to crown this champion at the event in Saudi Arabia, right?
Yeah.
Here's what I'm hoping then. I'm hoping that Cody's program that Brock is not a one-off. I'm hoping it goes beyond that, because if Cody's involved with Brock, however, you know, it happens, whatever kind of a program they want to have together, then neither one of them should be anywhere near that tournament or that battle royal or whatever they're going to do. I don't know what the plan is for that.
If they do a battle royal, I'm done.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm afraid they're doing with Cody. One, they're going to put this title on him, and then that's a wrap. Two, they're going to make Cody go through, air quotes, hard times for the next 12 months and then run back Roman at WrestleMania 40 in Philly, where Philadelphia fans don't cheer good guys. They throw snowballs and batteries at Santa Claus. They cheer Michael Irvin when he breaks his neck in a football game. Philadelphia ECW fans, Kane Dewey.
Yeah.
Mick Foley's kid when he was like 5. Philadelphia fans are bloodthirsty savages.
Yep.
And I say that with nothing but love. But as far like Chicago, great wrestling town. Toronto, great wrestling town. Philadelphia, toughest wrestling town in North America. It is a bitch of an audience. And that is the worst place to try and do a Rocky story. Why?
I mean, if you think about it,
because the city of Philadelphia already did a Rocky story. And by the way, that Rocky story won an Academy Award for Best Picture in 1976.
Yeah.
I think it was 76.
If you think about it, they've had chances to give you the storybook ending even before Mania. You had freaking Sami Zayn in Montreal.
Screw Sammy, Drew.
Yeah, Drew and Cardiff. You know.
Drew, to me, there was only 2 true storybook endings. Sammy was a pipe dream. It would have been really freaking cool, but Sammy was a pipe dream. The 2 legitimate people, Drew and Cardiff, Cody at Mania.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of like, okay, now what?
Now we're treading water.
Exactly. Who else?
And not very well.
Who else can you bring out of the woodwork as a surprise to beat Roman? There's nobody. There's nobody, because the free agents that were around signed with AEW. The one credible free agent that could have instantly come in and been a threat to Roman was Jay White, and he's AEW.
And you're not calling Braun Breaker up and running him at Roman.
No.
He's not ready.
No, that's why
he's done great work in NXT, but he's not ready.
That's why they turned him heel in NXT.
Yeah.
They've got ideas for him, and they ain't main roster now. So it's just kind of.
We could always bring back Samoa Joe. Just kidding.
We're not that lucky.
Time machine, Samoa Joe.
Oh, good God. But I think we are completely, as far as Roman, we're rudderless. We're just dead water, and we're praying for a gust of wind to send us toward the shore.
What do you make of all the talk? And we'll drop this here in a minute because we want to actually talk about the belts and all that. What do you make of the talk I'm hearing that Solo Sikoa eventually is the one to undo everything? Okay. Because the one good thing about the storyline since Mania has been Solo's presentation.
Yeah.
Solo is a force to be reckoned with because he doesn't talk that much. He always winning.
Talk, period.
I know. But he's the one reliable person in the bloodline right now other than Roman. He can be counted on to get the job done, and I think that might be ultimately where they want to go with it. I don't know how they get there necessarily, but
that's horrible. Because, okay, Solo is the one to dethrone Roman. Okay, who's the heel? Who's the babyface? Roman, if you try and turn Roman in the middle of this, that's an even worse idea. Roman has to be the heel. There's no way in hell Solo Sikoa can be the babyface. Why? Solo Sikoa doesn't talk. They're not going to have Paul Heyman representing him. Paul Heyman's as far as character is concerned, is too much of a slime ball.
Right.
Paul Heyman is not going to be the one championing the good fight. You literally had the guy
Right
WrestleMania 40. You had the storybook ending. And I've watched my language for the majority of the show. So, Brian, I know we're starting to timestamp stuff. So, if you wouldn't mind timestamping this, that way I can beep it. But
done. 21:15.
They did. Don't call, no call in the morning. Don't even leave a note on the nightstand. Violation and one night stand.
Slip out the back door and
Didn't even, in more ways than one. Didn't even buy us dinner.
Oh.
Not even a chicken sandwich.
Okay, I sense that we're about to lose, Patrick. So let's talk about some championships, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's talk about some designs of some championships that we're actually hip to.
So what we're gonna do is Brian had this wonderful idea. So let's go back in the annals of wrestling history and talk title belts. Which ones sucked, which ones didn't, and we're probably gonna talk about not just historic belts, but current ones too. So get your popcorn ready, because I'm probably going to be a vile, vicious bastard on this one.
Well, would you like me to start with a terrible one or a great one?
Brian, I missed you, buddy.
Missed you too. To that end, would you like me to start with a great one or a terrible one?
You know what? Let's start with a great one first.
Okay.
And then, let's start with some positivity, and then we'll bring and then at what point did you think this was such a good idea? Let's bring out Scott Norton.
Yeah, okay. Well, to that end, let's start with everybody's favorite. Let's start with that winged eagle, shall we?
Not my favorite.
Not your favorite. Oh, controversy.
Now we are talking the 1980s Hulk Hogan World Title.
Yes.
Not my favorite.
Oh boy, do tell. Let's talk about this. Let's unpack this a little bit.
I'll give that one an 8.5.
Okay.
Not my favorite. Pretty awesome, but not my favorite.
Okay. I mean, it's nostalgia for me because that's when I started watching.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody was carrying around. So I'm like, oh, this must be pretty cool because I love the lettering on it.
For the record, my favorite title belt is not a world title.
Okay.
It's not a world title.
I think with this one too, I like the way it looks when people wear it. People wore it because this was in the days when you actually wore the belt.
Yes. Now, one thing I did think was cool about it. Now, it obviously really cool belt. Another wrinkle to it was Ultimate Warrior, because it was always a different color strap. And even rolled out for a pay-per-view once with a purple strap. And I'm like, all right, that's dope. That's dope. He had one yellow, he had one purple. I'm like, see, that's gangster right there. I really like that.
But I forgot that he had done that, actually.
And that's one of the many reasons that's an 8.5. I mean, clean, classic, timeless, and to a degree versatile.
Yes.
I mean,
because no matter who had it,
it looked cool on whoever had it, including Slaughter.
Yes.
It looked cool on Slaughter.
Which takes some doing, but it worked.
I mean, it looked cool on Hogan ripping the shirt off. It looked cool on Savage. It looked cool over the shoulder of Miss Elizabeth. it looked good on Slaughter.
It looked microscopic whenever Andre the Giant got to hold it. Yeah, pretty much. That's
pretty much just like holding a small remote.
Holding a box of matches.
I mean, it looked good on Shawn. It looked good on Brett. You know who it looked just freaking nasty on? Sid.
Yeah.
The black vest, the black trunks, and the belt.
Right.
Sid wore it. Like other big men, Taker wore it. Diesel didn't. Diesel always.
I was trying to remember the first time like somebody actually like carried it out instead of wearing it, and I guess it would be Diesel.
He drug it. Diesel never even raised it. He would just because it was just too cool for school. Just kind of just had it down at the hip. But Sid and his big gigantic ass wearing that, it just looked clean.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, yeah, that world title. Yeah.
You just reminded me of something.
What?
Everybody that watches and listens to this show knows what a predilection I have for him.
Uh-huh.
One of the only things he used to do that I never liked was the way he would carry the belt on his side and it would hit the ground all the time.
Uh-huh.
I remember thinking about that, and I'm like, Rock, that's kind of disrespectful.
How many times did, well, actually, there weren't that many when, we were watching pay-per-views at your house. But when Rock won the WWE Championship from CM Punk and then defended it, I distinctly remember screaming at the TV again and again and again, "Wear the belt, wear the belt, wear the belt."
Yeah.
And that was one thing I always despised about The Rock. Austin never wore it either, but Austin didn't let it drag the ground. Austin carried it because, Austin's going to drop the belt and then drop somebody.
Yes.
I mean, that's massive difference. I didn't like the way Diesel handled it. I didn't like the way The Rock handled it. But, again, somebody else that looked really flipping cool on, but then again, every title belt looked cool on him? Flair.
Did Flair ever win the Winged Eagle?
With a tear in my eye?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought that, I don't know why I'm picturing him holding because he came over from WCW with the big gold belt.
Brian,
Never mind.
Brian, you're my best friend. You're the smartest guy in the room, but that might have been the dumbest thing you've ever said.
Yeah. And as soon as you said with a tear in my eye, I'm like, well, because he was holding it like this up to the camera, like a newborn baby.
Yep. Like he's holding Ashley or Reed to show off to the world.
She's beautiful, isn't she? She's great.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and get it out there. I told you that my favorite championship belt was not a world title.
Okay.
And probably easy for you to guess.
Are we talking about the classic Intercontinental strap?
Ding.
Okay.
My favorite title. My
the one
absolute favorite title, because there is no championship in wrestling that looked cleaner than that sumbitch right there. I mean, I got it on the screen right now. Look,
yeah, that's the one I remember. Steamboat and Savage and Shawn and
Brett.
Yeah.
And Razor and Jarrett. Hell, Cody. Miz.
Yes.
If there are timeless championship belts, and then there's the Intercontinental title. I mean, dude, that IC title looked dope around the waist of the God-blessed honky tonk man.
It sure did. Even with his ridiculous outfits.
It looked dope on the honky tonk man. Enough said. It looked dope on Jeff Jarrett with the stupid little Chippendale straps and the big glasses and the hat that lit up. It looked dope on Jarrett.
3 words. Ain't I great?
3 words. Hell freaking no. So let's shift gears. What's your least favorite title belt ever?
I'm sorry I have to bring the mood down.
The biggest festering turd championship belt of all time, according to Brian Allen, which is Kriego,
is the 24/7 championship. I
see. For me, that one only gets a C. That's like a 5.
Are you grading on a curve?
No.
The thing is hitting. We're talking about the same championship. Yeah. The one that Foley unveiled.
Green strap looks like a clock.
Looks like a manhole cover, for crying out loud.
Still not the worst. Still not the worst.
Well, this ought to be interesting. So, okay, since we're talking about festering, we've reached the festering turd section of Home Depot.
You ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Do.
The one where it spins or the one where it's fixed?
The one, as far as the WWE Championship, either one.
Okay.
Either one. Look, I love old school and gangster rap. I was in high school during the height of Bad Boy versus Death Row. I mean, hell yes. But I'm sorry, but a wrestling world championship should not look like somebody's grill. And that's exactly what that championship does. Nothing against somebody having that as a grill, but that's not what a championship belt should look like.
I don't know. I don't really, that's when I don't really have an opinion about.
You talk about gaudy and how so many of WWE's current belts are gaudy. There's gaudy and then there's that. All of these belts might be gaudy. That freaking thing is Liberace.
Something to aspire to.
Oh, damn right. But I mean, to me, that one is just like, Robin Williams. Shout out to the man, Robin Williams on a HBO special he did. Robin Williams live on Broadway was talking about he's been to Graceland and I don't care what she found. He'd been to Graceland and he's like, I didn't realize they made those kind of colors. There are some colors there that would make a blind fashion designer go, oh Jesus Christ. That's what that title belt does. It would make a blind fashion designer go, oh God. A blind one. Not just someone that's on Project Runway or anything like that.
Yeah.
Someone on Project Runway, but blind.
And, it's probably not right for me to have this kind of a take on it when we're sitting here talking about tradition with the Winged Eagle and the Classic IC Championship and stuff like that, because you should be respecting the tradition of the company you work for. But I thought it was novel at the time to take, and I guess here's why. I didn't think it would be around for that long. I thought it would be just like a couple, like he'd come out with a couple, like Steve Austin smoking Skull Belt, where you'd only see it occasionally, but not all the time.
Steve Austin's Skull Belt and for the beginning of it, everybody's TNT championship. Everybody had a different TNT title. Brody had one. Cody had one. Miro had one. The one that Miro had was sick. The Bulgarian flag one.
Mm-hmm.
The one that Scorpio Sky had, the purple and gold one. That was dope. This custom title, one, gaudy as shit. Two, everybody had it. I hated the title to begin with, but it made sense for Cena. But when Sheamus and Triple H are both wearing the son bitch, I'm like, all right, no. And Randy Orton, I'm like, no, no.
And when Edge has his own that spins with the Rated R logo on it and all that. I guess here's the thing, though. I guess it's where what your opinion is about. And I get why the company does it, because you're trying to sell merchandise and you want to sell the replicas, and and all the 11-year-old boys that come through with their parents go to the merch stand. I want a replica belt for $20 and all that kind of stuff. Or you want to go to Walmart.
Right. I mean, I get that.
On the one hand, I get it, but you can still do that and not have the guy wearing the thing every week necessarily, I think.
Right. So let me ask. Excuse me. We're talking about we're going back and forth. Crappy ones, good ones. Currently, and let's stay in America, because New Japan's got some sick titles. The IWGP Intercontinental title is love it. The old IWGP Heavyweight Championship, one of the greatest ever. By the way, that's a 9.5. That's my second favorite title. Currently, what is your favorite title? Let's just keep it to WWE/AEW. Impact too, if you want to throw Impact in there.
It's a toss-up for me. And this one's out of left field because I didn't tell you about this one before.
Okay.
I like AEW's All Atlantic Championship design. And I also like their Women's Championship. The one that Jamie Hayter has right now.
I like it now. That tiny ass when they gave Rio and that tiny ass when that Britt had, that was freaking hideous. The women's title now is.
And actually and here's where I'm going to anger you again, the only WWE championship that's out there right now that I actually like is the Intercontinental Championship, because everything else is either these big W's, hey, we got the W's, or they look like pennies, or they look like whatever. But that Intercontinental one, or it's got the United States Championship. But the current Intercontinental Championship is the best of all of them.
The current United States Championship is a 0. It is it's right up there with the damn spinner belt. It is just hideous. I'm not even going to bring the damn thing up. So don't timestamp this one. I'm not bringing that ugly ass thing up. Just
I'm still rating the IWGP because that one does deserve to have a picture.
Oh my God, yeah. And in all this, you will have already seen the All Atlantic and the women's title. I agree with you on both of those. My other one that I love, and I can't believe I'm saying this because when it was first debuted, we all laughed at it. The TNT title.
I haven't paid attention to what it looks like now.
It's the classic one. They didn't give Wardlow or Hobbs. They haven't done a custom one since Scorpio Sky.
Okay.
But the TNT title is really cool. But the one that I'm saying currently right now is number one. I'm going to say is the AEW Women's Championship. followed closely behind the All Atlantic title. I love both of those. They're modern, but they're also have a very classic look to them. I like them both mightily. Both of them are 9.5s, and no, both of them are 9s.
Yeah.
For me, it's like the gold standards are
Yeah.
the Intercontinental title, the old IWGP Heavyweight Championship, and come on, you know this one, Brian. You know this one. My other
The 10
all-time
pounds of gold.
10 pounds of gold, the NWA title. I'm talking about the big gold belt.
So the one on the top of the peak,
yeah,
right behind
that
me.
one, yeah.
You probably can't see me pointing to it, but
yeah, the World Heavyweight Championship that everybody associates with Ric Flair. The Ric Flair belt. Those three for me, 10. Sean Spears, 10, 10, 10, 10. Those cannot be touched. The IWGP Heavyweight title, the old WWE Intercontinental title, the big gold belt. Mwah. Currently,
we won't worry about putting it on screen. I don't mind the AEW championship either. I think they did a good job. I'm not talking about MJF's iteration.
No, it's an 8.5. It's solid. Yeah,
they did a very good job with the design. It evokes some of the classic titles and stuff while still being modern enough.
And here's something I found out. They're replicas of that championship, weigh exactly the same amount as the actual belt. Here's a picture I'm going to throw up. This was taken last year, the night of Forbidden Door. I'm watching the pay-per-view over at RJ's house. There is me with a replica AEW championship over my shoulder. That son of a bitch is heavy. That he put that over my shoulder. I was like, so shit.
He had me hold it too, and it was like a workout.
Yeah, I mean it's heavy.
I think it was the draft party we had. It was the year before this year because we had it in another buddy's house.
Right.
And it was 2 years ago's draft where I held it, and I'm like, oh my god, this is a workout.
Yeah, 25 pounds of gold. Damn. But that one's a solid for me. It's a solid 8.5. It's really good, but it's not, excuse the expression, elite.
I couldn't help but notice that you winced a little bit earlier when I brought up the current WWE Intercontinental Championship. You want to care to unpack that a little bit?
Yes, I will. Who's the first person that wore that?
Oh, Ricochet? Shinsuke.
Nakamura. To me, that belt looks like a throwing star. That belt has a very jagged edge Japanese weapon look to it. And the only person it makes sense for is Nakamura. Seeing Gunther wearing that does not make sense. Gunther should be wearing the classic.
That's fair.
Here's my take on the current Intercontinental title. If the reigning, defending, undisputed WWE Intercontinental Champion is the King of Strong Style himself, Shinsuke Nakamura, then yeah, it makes sense. If it's anybody else, no, it doesn't. And that's my take on it. It's cool on the right person. And unfortunately for the Intercontinental title, there's only one right person. It looks stupid on Sami Zayn. It looks stupid on Ricochet. It looks immensely stupid on Gunther. I can go on and on, but the person that it's right for is Shinsuke Nakamura. So there's my take on that. On Nakamura, it's 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
On Gunther, it's a 1. Mainly because it just doesn't look right. And it hasn't looked right on anybody except Nakamura. Kind of like it's to me, I thought when they unveiled it, I'm like, they gave Nakamura a custom Intercontinental title. That's freaking sweet. And like, oh, they didn't. Or maybe they did and they just decided to John Cena this whole damn thing and like, okay, now everybody gets to wear it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, this would be like if Triple H was wearing the Smoking Skull belt.
Right.
Nope. Pass. It'd be like Kurt Angle wearing the Smoking Skull belt. Hard pass. Doesn't make sense. It's a Chewbacca defense. It did not make sense. Classics.
Here's another question.
Okay.
What's the best way to unveil one? Because I feel like that's been as much of a problem that WWE has had over the past 5 to 10 years when they've unveiled these championships, is they do it in the most ham-fisted way possible.
Uh-huh.
I'm of the opinion, well, you answer first and then I'll give you my opinion.
Instead of giving you like, here's how to do it, I'll give you I'll tell you the one time they did it right. And it's ironic that I'm actually going to say this. John Cena unveiling his spinner WWE Championship.
I don't remember how that happened.
If I'm not mistaken, they dropped it from the rafter like it was on the
okay.
the ladder match.
That's right. Because I remember Edge doing that too when he did his. I don't remember that Cena did it first.
I mean, you don't have it on a table or actually, no. The best way to unveil a championship belt is exactly what they did for Kofi. Daniel Bryan has the sustainable vegan belt, which made perfect sense for him.
Yes.
That was so freaking cool. The belt's still ugly as shit, but it was still cool. But for them to take that title off of the pedestal and kind of toss it, and then for Woods and E to pull that tarp off, and there it was. Boom.
I like that one because you're not giving the crowd a chance to react to it and pan it.
Not just that. Not just give the crowd time to pan it. No anticipation. Like, oh, he's going to debut a new championship. He's going to talk for 5 minutes. He's going to talk for 5 minutes more. Okay, now we're going to go. Oh, okay, cool. There's no excitement to that.
Right.
It's, it's speech, and here's your championship. Oh.
Ooh.
Oh. No, it's not even that. Oh, wait. Brian?
Yes.
Sorry. You hate the praise, but it's a constipated orgasm. Oh. Tell me I'm wrong.
I would argue.
Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not wrong.
Can't. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would argue the best way to do it nowadays is to just put out a press release. Don't even waste TV time with it. Don't have the podium, the lectern, or whatever you call the thing that you have it cradled on with the blanket over the top of it. Don't even waste TV time with it anymore. Or just if you're gonna unveil it, you put it
No,
on the person who wins it after the fact, and then they just celebrate it.
no, time. I just remembered one. The perfect way to do it. WWE Cruiserweight Classic. It's the finals of the Cruiserweight Classic, and everybody just thinks it's the finals of a tournament. And Triple H walks out with nothing in his hands. And as he's addressing Grand Metalik and TJ Perkins, he's talking about winning this. And the winner of this is going to go on and represent the cruiserweight division. And he's handed the bag as he's saying this as the new WWE Cruiserweight Champion. And there's that purple belt.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, not a bad looking belt either. I liked that one. That's a
I didn't
solid
mind
belt.
that one either.
That one's a 7.5. But just the sheer surprise of it. Like, because go back and watch the finals, and that reveal, even though it was even though it was at Full Sail, and Full Sail's crowds were always just ridiculous, but they went absolutely ballistic over that.
Yeah.
Do something like that and it's perfect. I mean, literally, like when they announced the tournament for the All Atlantic Championship, okay, we're going to have a brand new All Atlantic Championship. And here's the people in the tournament. You don't reveal it until the finals.
Yep.
And now, and you reveal it right before the damn bell rings. Like, here's whoever who won it first. Was it Pac?
Yes. Pac was your inaugural.
Pac versus whoever he beat in the finals. And okay, these guys are the finalists. They're fighting for the title. What's the title look like? And not only that, but you've got stupid shows like this that are watching this tournament and going, but what's the title look like? But what's the title look like? And it's suspense, suspense, suspense. Right. Bam. And then you hit them with it. And that, you know what? That title could look like absolute dog shit. It could look like the 24/7 title or the John Cena festering turd. But guess what? People are going to be talking about it the next morning, and they'll be talking about it with excitement. Why? Surprise!
And because of all the hard work that it took to get to that point, because the Cruiserweight Classic was some pretty damn fine wrestling, by the way. And gang, in Wrestling with Eagles, and if you're bored one of these weekends coming up and you don't have anything to watch, go back and rewatch the Cruiserweight Classic on the WWE Network. You could do a lot worse.
TJ Perkins versus Kota Ibushi. Cedric Alexander versus Kota Ibushi. I know it was Cedric versus TJ.
Yes.
You also had Grand Metalik and Zack Sabre Jr.
Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano.
Anytime you get Ciampa and Gargano, Jesus God. But dude, the Cruiserweight Classic still holds up. Damn it, that was some of the best wrestling ever. But I think personally, 90% of 90% of current wrestling championship belts are a failing grade. They're a 4 or less. 4 or less.
Because there's no imagination.
Now, so Brian,
Tasteful imagination. Let's
Brian,
say.
I told you this story offline before we started the show. So I work for a beer distributor. I'm a sales rep. So one of my accounts ordered some promotional signs from one of the beers that we distribute. I sent it off to our print shop to have this made, gave them specifics of all the promo that they were doing. They sent me back an 11x17 poster with a beer can of each different flavor, one in every corner of the poster, and in the middle was the price. No graphic of the company of the beer company logo. No, hey, if you buy any of these beers, you get a raffle ticket, and here's what this raffle ticket's good for, because that's the promotion they're running at Panini's of Twinsburg. None of that. White background, black text, four cans. And that's exactly how unimaginative the WWE Universal Championship, WWE Championship, Raw and SmackDown women's titles all look.
We failed to bring one up that's a little bit insulting.
What?
The WWE Divas Championship. The butterfly.
I actually don't hate it as much as I hate the current shit. You know why? Even though it was absolutely ridiculous looking and it was that stupid ass butterfly, at least it was some damn imagination.
Okay, yeah, I always used to look at that championship and just like, why? What? Really?
Oh, me too. But at least they tried. At least they tried. Hey, you know what? That one is that same poster that our print shop sent me, but with a little bit of a with a little bit of a background behind it, to not have so much damn white space. The current WWE
like
titles
it's superimposed over a raffle ticket, at least.
Yeah, superimposed over a raffle ticket. Yes. The current titles are just white background, 4 cans, price. Yeah. No imagination. I literally, when I got this proof back from our print shop, my exact words were, "What kind of Mickey Mouse romper room shit is this? I could do this in 5 minutes, hammered, drunk."
All right, here's another follow-up question for you.
By the way, real quick, the posters that they're using, I designed myself, sober, 45 minutes.
And we appreciate that.
You know what? Panini's of Twinsburg definitely appreciates it because they're hanging up all over the damn place before I can even walk out of there. And I gave them to them today.
Let's say that you own a wrestling promotion.
God help us all.
Patrick Wrestling Federation or whatever you want to call it.
No, it's Wrestling with Egos.
Yeah, there you go. You create championships, whatever you want to call them, and for whatever division you want to create them for.
Let's just make it easy. It's the Wrestling with Egos World Heavyweight Championship.
Okay.
Or the Ego Wrestling Federation World Heavyweight Championship.
Will you ever redesign them, or will you just say this is it?
Oh, there'll be a redesign. There'll be a redesign. There'll be, times will change. I mean, the WWE could not have kept the winged eagle or the big circle globe. It had to evolve as times change. I don't think the winged eagle could work in this day and age. It'd be a hell of a lot better than what they got right now, but I still don't think that could work for any major promotion. It's not cool enough. It was cool in the 80s. It's cool in the 80s, and it's cool for old heads like us who like looking at that kind of classic stuff. We're the same people that also look at old baseball uniforms or old football jerseys or basketball jerseys and go, "Yeah, that was dope." The old school Seattle Supersonics jerseys. Yeah. Pick whatever jersey you want. We're those kind of people. And those are the people that look back fondly at these old titles, like that one, or the big gold belt, or the old Crockett tag titles. Stuff, or even the old WWF World Championship, that green belt.
Yes, the one that Hogan won in '83.
Yes, the one that
Iron Sheik.
Hogan beat the Sheik for. That one.
Now, I'm
That
not
one.
saying, and you don't even have to worry about putting these up, but there's some gaudy monstrosities from like the territory days where there was
God.
like panels on the side of them, and you know, there's one I thought I remember seeing one where it was like the state of Texas
Uh-huh.
on a belt, or you know, the outline of the United States on a belt, and it would cut into your stomach if you tried to wear it, and you
Yeah,
know,
that was the NWA National Heavyweight Champion. Wasn't the U.S. title? It was the National
okay.
Heavyweight Championship.
But my thing is like when I guess if it's me and I find a design that works, I'm going to promote that design and I'm going to make it, you know, like your champion is wearing this belt. You know,
I am too. But you asked me if there would be a redesign. Yeah, there would be a redesign as the times called for it. It wouldn't,
okay.
trust me. My read it like I'm launching if I'm launching and I'm crowning a champion this Monday night on Insert Network here. That title is gonna be that title until A, we're 10 years down the road and society and times call for it, or B, a champion calls for it and it makes sense for them to have their own title. Much like the Smoking Skull belt or MJF's Triple B. I ain't mad at that one. That makes sense for him. Now, hypothetically, we get to Double or Nothing, and is that the next pay per view? Double or Nothing? Yes. Yeah, it is.
Yes.
You know, if Darby beats him for the title, but he's still wearing the Triple B, okay, now you lost me. I mean that title design dies with MJF's title reign.
Right.
And you go back to the classic, or you give Darby his own, which that could be dope.
It could be.
Ooh. Um, but
I just thought of something.
the
Let's say Darby wins the AEW championship. I just thought of what he could turn it into.
what?
He could turn it into a skateboard.
No, they AEW wouldn't do anything like that.
Okay.
There, there, there are people there that are too much of traditionalists. There would be a belt. It might be a custom belt. I just thought of one thing. Something that one of the coolest things anyone's ever done as a champion with their championship. Cody, the American Nightmare, Cody, not Cody Rhodes, Cody as the Ring of Honor World Champion. He not only he didn't have a belt, he had the Ring of Honor.
Okay.
You had to kiss the ring. That was some that was some arrogant putz ass shit. And I loved it. I remember they did a taping in Atlanta at Center Stage, and he went around ringside and was asking people, fans at ringside, who wanted to kiss the ring. And he's still wearing the damn thing, by the way. So he's got his hand right in front of people's faces. And like, what kind of an arrogant putz do you have to be to do that? And it was amazing.
Right.
Um, custom stuff like that totally works, but it only works for that person. You
True.
try and pass it on to someone else, and it's just stupid. Ugh. Are you listening, WWE, with your gaudy ass John Cena spinner belt? See,
Well, they would tell you it doesn't spin anymore. Yeah.
seeing CM Punk wear that. As much as I don't like CM Punk and never have, the only thing I liked about CM Punk was the fact that he came out to one of my favorite songs in the entire world, Cult of Personality. But seeing CM Punk wear that for 400 and some odd days during that run where he turned heel halfway through it with Heyman. Like, that, no, that's like putting that damn thing on Bob Backlund.
Yeah.
The only other current title I want to bring up, because to me this one's also polarizing. The IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, currently held by Sonata. That surprised the hell out of me, by the way. Sonata beat Okada. Like,
Yeah,
well, shit.
I saw the belt, and that's a perfect example for me of why did you have to change it? What was wrong with the other one? The classic one, the vintage one that we brought up earlier.
It looks too much like the Divas title to me. It looks like the Divas title, and I'm like, oh God, no.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, why couldn't you have just said the IWGP World Championship will no longer be known as the IWGP World Championship. It will now be known as the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. By the way, didn't AEW do that? It went to without changing a damn thing except the wording on the belt. It went from being the All Atlantic Championship to the International Championship.
And the world kept on spinning.
And you know what? Perfectly fine.
All God's children got a place in the choir.
Mm-hmm.
It's
hallelujah and amen. But still, that belt is one of the two best in wrestling right now. And they're both AEW, and neither one of them are the World Heavyweight Championship.
I cannot believe that we're an hour and 7 minutes into this discussion and we're just now bringing up Zack Ryder's Internet Championship. I mean, how dare you forget to bring up the Mona Lisa of championship?
No,
I'm not going to put a timestamp on that one.
No, here's something I do want to discuss because we haven't discussed this. One, across the board, because they're all kind of similar, how do you feel about the NXT titles? I mean, yeah, you got a tag team title right above your head. I got one back at my house. Thanks, RJ.
Love you, brother.
But just across the board, the NXT title, the tag titles, the North American title, the women's title, the women's tag titles. Just
the North American title is my favorite.
I love that one.
The North American title is my favorite of all of them.
I do like that one. I don't have a problem with any of the
I
NXT
don't either.
titles.
There's always going to be something for me about the OG NXT Championship, even though nobody wore it because you had the gigantic cutout X and stuff like that. There was and shocker. I'm about the champion Finn Balor. Whenever Finn would do the paint and he'd do the weird entrances and stuff like that, and he like crawl up to the championship like he did.
So freaking cool.
Like he did when he was getting ready to wrestle Joe in the cage, and when he was like Jack the Ripper and had it in London and all that kind of stuff. I mean, he was just so inventive.
And snatch it.
Yes. Like you got to try and take this away from me too. On top of all that,
that NXT's presentation of the Demon is untouchable.
I did not mind that at all. They don't really have a bad one.
No, they don't.
And it's like something you said before. It's not surprising with Triple H in charge for all those years the way he's been.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they're gonna tend towards the more classic designs.
One last thing, because we haven't discussed this, not only currently but in the past, across the board, from the 80s up until now, WWE Tag Team Championships.
I don't like them now.
I don't like them now. I didn't like them then. I didn't like the the big, gigantic ones that
Were those the ones that
demolition.
said like they had the word "world" on yeah in red?
Never liked it. But you know who has great tag titles? AEW.
Yep.
The AEW World Tag Titles look sick. WCW's tag titles were pretty cool looking too. I mean, they weren't great. I mean, compared to the WWE's. But, I mean, and even something else was speaking of WCW, the WCW US title.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a great one. But I'm definitely a fan of the AEW World Tag Titles. The trios titles are cool too, but they look very similar to the tag titles. Really and truly, AEW doesn't really have a bad championship belt. Oh, look,
Anymore.
I can say, oh yeah, because the women's title was original women's title was atrocious. I can say a lot of things I don't like about AEW. A lot of things I don't like about AEW. Championship belts are not one of them. Some people holding certain championship belts are definitely very high on that list. One of them cannot wrestle their way out of a wet paper sack, but somehow they're pushed like their name is Goldberg. And that is the rant mode on, very briefly. That is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. For someone to be a 15-year veteran like Taya Valkyrie and her being sued for using Jade Cargill's finisher, which, by the way, Taya Valkyrie was using when Jade Cargill was still playing basketball at Jacksonville University in Florida.
Yep.
Which, by the way, all Taya Valkyrie did was take the finisher from one of her role models, Buffalo, New York's own Beth Phoenix.
Shout out. See you, Beth.
Who, by the way, took that move from one of the straight up baddest women's wrestlers of all time, Jazz.
Yes.
Jazz was one lady I would have never wanted to screw with.
Nope.
I'd come back missing an arm. Has WWE ever had a good women's title? I say no. Because like the women's title that we associate with Trish and Lita and all this,
That's the closest one, the
it
oval.
looked like a saw blade.
I mean, like the ones that the ones that like Moolah used to walk around with and stuff like that are cool only because they're curiosities.
Yes.
Only because they remind you of a
nostalgia.
bygone era and stuff like that.
And nostalgia. I just thought of one that WWE had that actually hidden gem. European title.
The coveted.
Yes. the WWE European title. That one was pretty cool. I mean, not one of my favorites. I'd give it a 6.5.
Yeah.
You know what? Since we're getting close to the end of the show, and because he also just recently passed away. Shout out to Dancing with the Stars legend Len Goodman. I'll give it a 7.
7.
7.
Oh man, yeah. Sad news about Len Goodman.
Oh yeah. I stopped watching that show years ago. But Len Goodman was gangster.
We've pretty much run the gamut, though. I'm kind of looking back at the list that that we're going to reference and all that. There really are not a lot of stinkers on here. Come to think of it, I mean, we've mentioned a lot of the better ones and great ones as opposed to the stinkers. I mean,
hey,
where do you come down on the hardcore championship?
No,
Okay.
it was the championship. The concept of the championship was awesome. The championship belt itself was just lazy writing.
Okay.
Lazy writing. How about the modern, not the current modernized, the early 2000s Intercontinental title, that narrow one, like the Ken Shamrock, Shelton Benjamin one.
I'm
You
gonna have
don't
to go
remember that.
back and.
You don't remember that one.
I don't remember that. I'm looking at my replicas behind me. I don't think I. That's not.
No, you don't have that one. I know
Oh.
your replicas. You don't have that one.
Because my replica is the one that has like the continent panels on the side of it. You know, there's one for North America and South America. There's one for Africa. And there's one for Australia. And there's one
Yeah.
for.
Let me see it.
Please hold.
Yes, I can't.
Now, I don't remember when I bought this, but that's my Intercontinental.
That's it. That's it. That's the one I'm talking about.
Oh, I love this one.
I thought it was just. I thought it was meh. I mean, it's
I
a
love it.
7.
As a matter of fact, we're gonna.
It's a 7.
That way.
It's a 7, 7.5. I mean, it's not terrible.
Hey, Ma,
It's
I
also
did
not
it.
great.
A champion. Look at me. I'm a champion.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Oh, this is the workforce championship right here.
No, give me the OG. Give me the classic, and
True.
And that number one with a bullet, as far as I'm concerned. I loved.
This was the design after that one.
Yes,
Because I remember Jericho wearing this one.
Jericho, China. I think some of the last people to wear it. Let's see, The Rock never wore it. Austin never wore it. Shamrock did. Trying to remember who beat the Shamrock beat The Rock for the Intercontinental title, right? If I'm not mistaken.
At some point, it wasn't at WrestleMania because that was the one that Shamrock got disqualified from.
No, it was King of the Ring. It was King of the Ring in Pittsburgh. No, because that King of the Ring, the finals was Shamrock and Rock. It wasn't the Intercontinental title.
Right.
Never mind. But
Triple
they
H
did,
on commentary.
yes, with one of the biggest faux pas in history. China's at the Spanish announce table doing commentary, and Jim Ross is like, I didn't know she speaks Spanish. You know, Triple H, hey, Hunter, are you bilingual? I buy a lot of things, but lingual's not one of them. Wait a minute. Did I just say that?
Oh,
Yeah, you
jeez.
did. Yeah, you did, and we're live, pal. Go back and
All
watch
about
it.
that.
Go back and watch it. I'll never forget that because I'm like, oh my God, he just said that.
And now he's running the company, more or less.
Yeah.
Oh.
So for me, top 3, OG classic Intercontinental title, AEW Women's Championship, AEW International Championship. Well, no, actually, no. Back up. Currently, my 2 favorites, AEW Women's, AEW International. All time, Intercontinental, old school Intercontinental, IWGP Heavyweight Championship, big gold belt. Those are the big 3.
For me, the number 1 all time would be the Winged Eagle.
Okay.
Number 2 would be the old IWGP Heavyweight Championship, and number 3 would be the Classic Intercontinental Championship. I mean, because there's just something about these vintage belts, because it's almost these current designs like you're trying too hard to reinvent the wheel.
I want to point one thing out for our listeners and our viewers. That top 3 list that Brian gave you and I gave you. We agree on 2 of those belts, and the other one is the World Heavyweight Championship that we mostly associate with our childhood.
Yes.
Brian growing up in New York, Hogan. Me growing up in Oxford, Alabama, Flair.
Yes. Now, don't get me wrong, that big gold belt is up there. I can recognize and I can appreciate how iconic that is.
Stop right there. Don't get me wrong. I can appreciate and recognize how iconic the winged eagle is. I can literally say exactly what you just said and just change what belt I'm putting in there and can say that exact same thing. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a scary thought because Brian and I literally are on the same page. The only difference is where we grew up.
I think before one of us says something that the other one's going to just go off the rails about, that might be a good time to cue the music. And
is there something that you want to say that I might I'll go off the rails on?
No, I'm just recognizing I got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
Because it's been a while since I've been on the show, and I'll probably be gone for a couple more weeks after, pop in and out, grace you with my presence like a good tribal chief. There are a lot of things, gang, that are in the works with Wrestling with Egos. A lot of things we can't talk about. There's some brainstorming going on behind the scenes. Possibly some new content coming. Possibly. I cannot say any more than that because contracts haven't been signed. We're still at the negotiating table. But
we're still workshopping.
Yes. Workshopping, brainstorming, talking contracts. The money's got to be right. Which means, they're going to get 1 cent more than we make on this show, which, by the way, is 0. So stay tuned.
Definitely.
There could be some changes coming. I know there's I don't know. Put it to you this way. Brian and I are considering branching out into our own creative streams. Could be fun. Brian has ideas. I have ideas. And we're both telling each other, you know what? Go for it. Teamwork. But seriously, I'm really excited about what you guys could be seeing from us this summer. Could be fun. And if things go the way I'm hoping they're gonna go, we might have volume 3 of a certain golf episode.
That would be fun.
With egos. We need to we need to make certain phone calls. RJ, pick up your damn phone. Even though he already is picking up his damn phone.
Right.
Yeah, because
that was for effect.
We talk to him all the time, but yeah, we might need some golfing with egos very soon. If the weather here in Northeast Ohio will make up its mind. God.
That's the biggest problem.
Yeah, really. No, actually the biggest problem is that our executive producer of this entire channel's office, Rocker. Depression sucks, gang. It sucks. Another reason. Remember how I said there was 1,004 reasons that I've been away from the show? Reason number 3, Arm bar. All right. Well, the one thing that Brian was afraid of is starting to happen. It's called the show being off the rails. And since there's only two of us, it's really hard to rein that back in. So we're going to do what Brian said we should have done 5 minutes ago, and we're going to get the heck out of here. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this week's Wrestling Infotainment. Don't forget, if you're checking us out on Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, Amazon, on your podcasting platforms, thank you so much. Like, subscribe, share, click the bell for notifications here on the YouTubes. Leave a 5-star review no matter where you are. Tweet the show at Wrestling X Egos. We might look at it. Wrestling, Twitter is a festering turd, much like the John Cena world title. So avoidance is good for our mental health. Or you could just leave a comment on the YouTube page, right under the video that you're watching. And if you're not watching us and you're listening to a podcast, just go to our page for 5 seconds and leave a comment. Because you already have something that you want to say about either how wrong or right I am or how right Brian is. Because, Brian's the smartest guy in the room and he's never wrong. Except when he's doing trivia with me, and then he's wrong because he loses. Much like everyone else. I'm like Ivan Drago looking at Apollo Creed. If he dies, he dies.
Okay.
Anyway, so thank you guys so much for being a part of this week's show. Brian, good to be with you.
Good to be with you.
We need we need some hangout time outside of Skype calls very soon. I think a Top Golf date is in our future.
I would like that.
I would like that very much as well. Beer and those really good pretzels they have.
Yes.
Nom 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 nom. So we're out of here. They will see you guys next week. I'll be back in a couple weeks. I got crap to do next couple weeks. So until then, for Brian, for Isaac, for Katie, the disembodied voice of Whit McGee, my name is Patrick. Thanks so much for being a part of this show. This has been Wrestling with Egos, and this is definitely why we love wrestling.
Since he's not here, I'll take care of it. Wabadoo!
Thank you!